What up, YouTube world? It's me, Rich, and I wanted to talk about something different today. I want to talk about reading habits and what it does to you emotionally, mentally, and physically. I was reading about it because after I read those three zines, I remember feeling kind of drained, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I read this kind of content all the time. Why do I feel drained today? And it made for something very, very interesting to me, at least, and I just wanted to talk about that with you guys. So let me go ahead and brew some coffee so we can get into it. Pump that ISO up a little bit. All right, coffee's ready. But yeah, so after I read the three zines that I just reviewed on the Mega Zine review, I remember feeling drained and thinking to myself, if sometimes the things we read correlates with depression, right? Meaning, is there a certain type of information or genre that people read that ultimately leads them to feel depressed? And the reason why I think about that, especially as a zinester, is because a lot of times people create zines, personal zines, and a lot of times there's a lot of zines that deal with trauma and things like that. And I just was wondering if people submerge themselves in that kind of content, in that kind of literature, and what that does to them. So I thought it'd be something fun and interesting to research. And what I can kind of conclude is that people that read on average are happier. People that read on average have more empathy and begin to understand and tap into the human condition more than people that don't read. I feel like this makes sense since a lot of content that people read, a lot of literature, fiction, and things like that, personal zines, autobiography, history, things like that, to really get the full impact of it, you really have to try to empathize with the characters. And like they always talk about, like the best villains are the ones you can empathize with, the ones you can understand where they're coming from. So even at that, you begin to empathize with different perspectives, which I think makes you a more human person. So I think what I was feeling after reading those three zines was just probably the hopelessness that we're all feeling right now, especially as a person of color, right? Like the hopelessness with these, institutions that are maintaining this power and privilege for a set group and disempowering, dehumanizing others, and I being part of the others obviously feel a bit of that pang and burden. Also, the idea that as a vegan, I believe in environmentalism and things like that, and the world doesn't seem to give a fuck, right? So like I think that perception of the world mixed in with the current state of the world, then mixed on top with some of the shit I was reading, kind of really fucked me up. It threw me off. But one of the articles that I just finished reading, it talked about how like you have to learn to listen to your own emotional state as a reader. And it's absolutely true, because what did I do yesterday? I read a bunch of fucking like junk comics. What do I mean by junk comics? Let me get them for you. Well, in fact, since we're trying this new system of filming this way, why don't we go get it together? But yeah, so what did I do yesterday? I spent the day just reading fucking junk comics. Go ahead and open this sucker up. So what did I read? This is literally what I read yesterday, because I read a lot. But I read some Rai comics, right? 3 issues, and then I read this Batman, right? And I'm gonna be honest, fucking digging Rise still going strong. This Batman comic was trash. So it was junk. And so you might wonder to yourself, Rich, why are you reading fucking junk? Because I had to listen to my own self, man. And I felt, hold on, let me set you guys up. I had to listen to my own self and what my emotional state was telling me. And it was telling me like, hey man, just fucking relax, unwind, read about this fucking weird universe where Batman clones himself and does all this other weird shit. And my mind, and I was like, fuck it, like, yeah, why not? And like, I feel better. And so I think that as a reader, people that read a lot and continuously, I think we also have to understand that reading books that are really heavy you sometimes need to switch it, right? Like, so it's kind of like an athlete trying to feel his own muscles, right? It's the same thing, because what the muscle we're exercising when we're reading is our mind and our emotions, right? And so there's such a thing as emotional health and mental health. And so we have to factor that in the content that we read and the way that we read. But yeah, you guys, so for everyone that reads continuously and often, I really do hope you're taking care of yourself. I really hope that you're listening to your body, that you don't obligate yourself to read something that ultimately could be harming to you emotionally or mentally. These things will take a toll on you, especially if you're reading content, you know, that deals with like rape trauma, that deals with like racism, and it just, you know, starts to fucking like, it begins to be a bit much, and you're surrounding yourself in a world where this is all that you're seeing and hearing. And I really do think there always has to be a balance of that versus, you know, the more lighthearted and the fun and the more empowering and things like that. So, you know, that was just my takeaway, man. I really felt it yesterday, and I was just kind of like, I gotta get out of it. I went to go skate and then read some comics, and like, and now I feel better. Now I'm like, you know, what's next? What's on the fucking reading list? And I think I got a book on the Riot Grrrl zine collection. Kind of like an overall look at it. And so that has excerpts from the beginning all the way to the end. And it talks about kind of what the Riot Grrrl zine was and how the Riot Grrrl movement started. I think that's something that I do want to talk about and share on the channel, just because I've had it for a long time. It's a book, but it's a book about zine cultures and the power and influence that zines can have, which is something that I always love about print media, this thing of sharing and trading, and they becoming more scarce and limited and of the time and era, and kind of a staple of that time and era in aesthetic, in culture, in commerce, and all that. These things that affect humans. So I think I am going to get into that soon. But I wanted to talk about that right now. And I want to try this new filming style, right? Like I fucking did this whole little contraption with the mic right here, thinking that it would look cool to be able to walk around and you guys kind of see more like a vlog, even though I don't fucking go anywhere. But this is the book I'm talking about right here. We're gonna go ahead and get into that next. Alright guys, as always, thank you for watching the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. I will see you guys soon. Lates.
Fight the fascists.